Traveling Pills.
Okay. So, I'm doing something a little bit different for this week's mini episode.
Okay.
It still falls under the is it haunted or is it us?
Okay.
But I found this article when I was doing my research on Zillow. It's a Zillow article, which who knew that they publish articles on Zillow?
Yeah, no idea.
So we can obviously post the link if people want to go read the whole article.
Right.
But it was about basically buying a haunted house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I was like, this could be fun.
Yeah. No, that's interesting.
Let's see what they have to say.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read this first paragraph, this little blurb from it, and then I'll just go into the breakdown.
Okay.
So it says, some people want their house to be haunted, said Noah Lee, a founder of Lead Investigator for Paranormal Investigators of Milwaukee, a nonprofit group that has conducted hundreds of investigations since its founding in 2007. It's something they see at a point of pride, something fun and interesting.
Okay.
So I now goes in, it had different sections. So this first section is what it's a sign of a house might be haunted.
Okay.
And it says, according to an article published by the Western University in Ontario, these are some things that you might notice.
Okay.
There could be creaky floorboards and slamming doors when no one else is home.
Mm-hmm.
Sudden drops in temperature unrelated to an open window or vents.
Yep.
Pets that bark or hiss at nothing, or like my cat staring vaguely into the distance the other night, just sitting.
Yeah, that was weird.
It was so weird.
It's also a weird area for her to be staring.
Well, that was my thing too. Where she was weird.
The whole thing was
weird. It was weird, yeah. And there was no it wasn't another animal or a bug or Maggie was at my feet. It was weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
Strange noises unconnected to people or events in the house.
Okay.
Spotting movement out of the corner of your eye, but seeing nothing when you turn. Foul odors unrelated to cooking. I have actually heard, and I don't know, I'd have to do research, but I have heard in various podcasts, television shows, things like that usually when it's a foul odor, it's like a demon or a poltergeist or something of that nature.
Right.
Flickering lights, water that turns off and on seemingly by itself.
Yep.
And furniture or objects that appear to move on their own.
I can't imagine furniture being moved around.
Could you,
Although, as, scattered as my brain is, I don't know that I would necessarily notice sometimes.
So that's, when I get weird about certain things. So, my OCDs come in when it comes to, placement of furniture or objects.
That is true. I do have certain things that I very much know where they are.
I walked into Jackie's house a couple of weeks ago, and you haven't been to her house, I don't think so. But I walked in, and she's got a kitchen dining room open situation, and she's talking to me, and I look and I go, "Did you take the leaves out of your table?" And she went, "How did
you notice that?"
And I was like, I don't know, I noticed things like that. So I think I would notice if a piece of furniture. But, that being said, I have 2 kids.
Yeah, I was going to say, you also have kids, so
you
can blame the kids.
There's that.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you right now, Tim on his own is not moving a piece of furniture.
No.
But yeah, that would be, could you imagine just sitting in, a rocking chair?
Starts rocking.
Or
a chair,
pulls
Or,
we have
out.
this ottoman that's on wheels.
Oh, yeah.
If that were to just start moving.
Nope.
No. So those are some signs that it might be a haunted house.
Okay.
But how do you determine if it's really haunted? Because let's be real, some of this stuff could probably be debunked, right?
Yes.
You need to really kind of do some investigation and really figure it out. So it says the Paranormal Investigators of Milwaukee, which is staffed by a volunteer group of 6 science-minded investigators, have developed a protocol for investigating supernatural claims.
Okay.
So they go on to say, usually most of the signs that a house is haunted can be explained by light and shadows, problems with the home heating,
Yep.
electric and plumbing systems, or foundation issues. Among the culprits identified during the group's investigations are falling paint chips, reflections from windows, faulty wiring and plumbing, and unsecured floor joints, which makes sense. I mean, especially in the older homes.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff you can definitely rule out. And that was like
Yeah.
one of the things that I always loved about like Ghost Hunters or even Kindred Spirits.
Yeah.
Was like they always went in and first were like,
How
was
can
that
I,
a car
like,
that drove by? Like, how can I reproduce
Yeah.
what just happened?
Yeah, how
or
do
what
I
they're
like
hearing?
disprove this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, like a lot of times they could.
Yeah.
But then there were moments where like they couldn't. Like
No.
there was this very distinct episode. It stands out in my mind, but I can't tell you what season.
Yeah.
But it was an episode where they were at this house that had become like a sanitarium.
Oh, okay.
And it was the clearest EVP I've ever heard, like disembodied. Like they didn't even have to play it back. They did.
Yeah.
But you heard it. Like it
Ooh.
wasn't just in the recording.
Yeah.
And it was like, I like the one in the green hat.
Oh, that's...
And it was like distinct.
That's creepy.
And it's like, you can't, there's no way to debunk that.
No.
So like.
That's like, it reminds me of the one I saw that was like, they were speaking like a foreign language.
Yeah.
And they brought in like an interpreter and then suddenly they were able to like communicate.
Oh, yes. Yes. Was it the one that he was Polish?
Yes.
Was that was the episode where the original owner was Polish?
Yes.
And he was angry because he didn't understand what was going on.
Yes.
And they were
renovating.
renovating.
Like, renovating.
Yeah.
He didn't love that.
And so once
he was like in the attic.
Yeah, because he was trying to get away from all of it.
Yeah.
And like the son wouldn't like sleep in his room.
Yeah.
I watch this like all the time. I love.
I feel like we
Kindred
watched
Spirit.
this episode together, actually.
We probably did. I bet you we did. But yeah, when they brought someone in who could speak Polish for them and
Yes.
like respond back to what he was saying, like they were able to be like, well, you know, this family lives here now and they're okay with you being here, but like they're going to renovate and take care of it the way you would have wanted it. And like that seemed to help.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't as angry and like
There
like
was
once he knew what was going
what was
on.
going on, exactly.
Because that's the thing too, like a lot of times too when a person passes, they don't necessarily realize it or like really understand this other family now.
Yeah.
Did you ever see The Others, Nicole Kidman?
Oh, yeah.
That is such a good,
That's a good
example.
movie, yeah.
And like once you know what's going on, like it's really not scary, but I
No.
still will watch it again because it's such a good movie.
That's a good one, yeah.
But she's on the ghost perspective.
Yeah.
But doesn't realize it.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. There was another episode on, I think it was Kindred Spirit, where it was like a house where the mother had died from, she had burns and had unfortunately passed away from like the injury. And the daughter, they're not sure if it was on purpose or accidentally, but took her own life.
Oh.
And they were both haunting this house, but they didn't know they both were there.
Oh, crazy.
And Amy and Adam both did the what's the method where they put
like the headphones.
and then there's the box in it, like, and they can't hear what it's answering. And the two are having a conversation with each other. The two spirits not knowing that they were even there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's interesting to like see how they all like come together. But I've gone off on a tangent because we were talking about how do you decide if it's real or not.
Yes.
And it goes, but sometimes rational explanations aren't the answer, and you know it's something more, which clearly, you know.
Yes.
So what do you do if you think your house is haunted? They said the best thing you can do to start before, like don't just freak out initially, is to keep a journal for a few weeks.
Oh.
And, like, document in detail what you're seeing. What time of day is it? Was it raining? Was it sunny? Did the event occur at the same time every day? So like write down the time and what happened, because is it something that's just a repetitive, you know, haunt? Is it because, you know, something on the electrical happens at this time every day and you never realized it?
Yeah.
Like look at this. Is there patterns?
Yes.
You know, do you see patterns? If the journal entry does not shed light for you, like you still can't make from it, then they're like, you know, reach out to like, you know, There's a lot of local
Yeah.
paranormal groups in all
Yes.
states and towns. That's when they say to reach out and be like, hey, this is going on.
Yeah.
I can't debunk it. I've kept these journal
Right.
entries. Like, this isn't debunking it.
Yeah.
But so don't jump to conclusions right away, because all
Right.
you're going to do is get yourself scared
Yes.
and freaked out.
Yeah.
And, like, you don't want that, especially if kids in the house. And,
And like you were saying, a lot of it can be debunked.
Exactly. And, like, yes, there are people who want to buy a haunted home, but, like, also make sure that there isn't a faulty wire and your house isn't going to burn down.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I'm sure it's not lights flickering.
Yeah.
Because of shoddy,
especially that old tube and wiring, which is why they replace it nowadays. Like, let's make sure that it's not something with the house first instead of a ghost.
Yeah.
So is a seller required to disclose if a house is haunted?
No.
Real estate laws vary by state and city, which makes sense because it's also like if someone's died in a house or murdered, like it depends on the state and whatnot and what the rules are. There isn't a one-size-fit-all answer when it comes to disclosing information about a home's reputation as a hangout for spirits.
Okay.
If you have ever publicly claimed that a house was haunted, then you do have to let the buyers know. And this is due to the Stimbosky versus Ackley, a New York Supreme Court ruling commonly referred to as the Ghostbuster ruling.
Oh. I feel like that makes sense because if it's like, say it's like the Amityville house.
Yeah.
Like, you need to know that because you're going to have people showing up every day taking pictures.
Yeah, exactly. Or like the Conjuring house.
Exactly,
too.
yeah.
Exactly. Another way to learn if your house has a reputation of being haunted is just ask the neighbors before you buy it. If you suspect, go knock on doors and be like, hey, I'm thinking about buying this house.
What have you heard?
What have you heard? Give me the details.
Yeah.
And then the other thing you can do is there's a lot of databases online you can check and see if someone's like, not necessarily haunted, but if someone's passed away or been murdered or if there's like some graphic, horrible event has occurred, you can a lot of time find out.
Yeah.
Whether they have to legally tell you or not.
Right.
So,
yeah.
It depends. Obviously, there is that New York Ghostbuster ruling that if you're going around claiming that your place is haunted, then you need to let people know.
Which totally makes sense. Yeah.
But otherwise, it really is, it's, hit or miss depending on where you live. You'd have to do some research and find out if that's a state or town where they require it.
Right.
Lastly, do haunted houses come with a smaller price tag?
Oh.
So, my thought was, probably, especially if it's a house like Amity or,
especially you're going to have to be dealing with the public on a daily basis. That's frustrating.
But then there's also there's part of me that's like, I would think it would be smaller, but then there could also be that hype.
Yeah. Where people are like, "Ooh, I want to."
Yeah,
I could make money off of this.
Yeah. So what they said was houses associated with ghost stories tend to sell at a lower price, mostly because they're older estates and have been neglected. So we've seen a few homes where we're just like, this could be gorgeous, and probably was in its heyday, but oh my, it says about 20% of states sold over the years have been homes where people have died, some by their own hand or hand of others. All of them sold as long as the price was right.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then a Zillow survey found that 35% of prospective buyers said they would be convinced to buy a haunted house if it was priced lower than the rest of the market.
I mean, especially I feel like that could go two ways. A, you fully believe in all of that, and you're just like, it doesn't bother me.
Exactly.
Or B, you don't believe in it at all, so it doesn't bother you.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like if you're in the middle of the road, it might be harder.
Yeah.
If you're more freaked out by it, more unaware of it.
Yeah. Well, and I know with the Amity house, when the family bought it, they were aware of the murders.
Yes.
But there was anything about hauntings or anything at that point. But they also were a family of how many? They're like 5.
I feel like it was a big family.
And it was a house an affordable price, and you I know what that's like to make sure there's room for all your kids and all their stuff. And then be in a budget that you can afford.
Right.
Especially in this market, let alone, back then or something.
Yeah.
It is going off like crazy right now.
Oh, yes it is. Interesting.
Why have you been so silent every other time?
I know, and this time it's just really active.
Yeah, now I'm like, play with the ball.
I know, right?
Well, it's because I touched it.
Yeah.
But play with the ball. Yeah, so I thought it was actually a pretty interesting article.
Really
and
interesting.
it kind of made you stop and like think like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Like,
I also love that Zillow like wrote that article.
Right,
They're well
right.
aware of.
They're well aware
Yeah.
that people are. And it's funny because it like popped up when I was like, I don't remember which house I was researching, but I was like history, and then I was like hauntings, ghost, and then the article popped up, and I was like, oh, this might be a fun little.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's that for this time.
I like it. I'm a fan.
As always, we are the Traveling Ghouls.
So hitchhiking ghosts beware.